The Haitian government declared a state of siege following the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. International leaders call for caution and the preservation of democratic order. 250 medical professionals from 35 countries asked the U.S. president to drop charge against Julian Assange. Afghan authorities and representatives of the Taliban Islamic movement met Wednesday in Tehran to discuss the future of Afghanistan. The United States withdrawal has posed the Taliban as the country's most powerful political and military force. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Caracas, Venezuela, this is From the South. I am Janet Perez Moya. Let's begin. The president of Haiti, Julian Moïse, has been assassinated. According to reports, Moïse was killed in an attack on his home in the nation's capital, Port-au-Prince. The country's interim Prime Minister, Claude Joseph, declared a state of siege and convened an emergency meeting of the cabinet. The PM said the president's residence was stormed by non-identified armed men at 1 a.m. local time. The First Lady was also seriously injured in the attack. Julian Moïse, aged 53, has been in power since February 2017, after his predecessor, Michael Martelly, stepped down. It should be recalled that Haiti has seen months of unrest, with thousands taken to the streets to demand Moïse leave office as his term ends in February. In the face of the popular protests, the president has been trying to impose a constitutional referendum to legitimize his presidency. The news is making headlines everywhere, with analysts wondering what will happen next in the troubled Caribbean island. Haitian interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph declared a state of siege, granting stronger powers to the executive just hours after the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. All measures have been taken to ensure the continuity of the state, with national police and armed forces in control of security, the PM claimed. Haiti has been experiencing social, institutional, and security chaos, with massive protests and harsh police repression. Over 100 people were killed and another 200 abducted in the capital, Port-au-Prince, in June, as armed gangs forced many of poor neighborhoods from their homes. Meanwhile, ministers met and to declare a state of siege throughout the country. Haiti's interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph has given some details of the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse and called for unity to organize elections and move the country forward. Also, the interim Prime Minister highlighted that mercenaries got into the president's house to kill him.
This house, they pretend that they are DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, but they are not. They actually killed the president, but most of them were speaking Spanish, some were speaking English. They killed the president and hurt his wife. Thank God the kids are safe and they were not hurt. So I tried to secure the First Lady. She travels and she's not in the country now because she was really hurt. And now I'm in charge, as you know, as per Haiti's constitution and its Article 149. When you take charge, you need to go forward with organizing elections so we can have an elected president. But I need to add also that we need everyone to be part of this endeavor, because we cannot go exclusive or just by myself. We need everyone. We need people in the opposition. We need allies of the president. We need every single one to actually move the country forward while seeking for justice for President Jovenel Moïse.
Haiti interim's prime minister also praised Juvenal Moïse's determination and criticized the oligarchs in the country who were against Moïse's policies.
President Jovenel Moïse was a man of courage. He's very strong. He's committed to justice. He's committed to help those who are left behind. So he has been always, if you will, talking about justice for those people. And, you know, President Jovenel Moïse was against some oligarchs in the country. And we believe those things are not without consequences. He also knew that, you know, when you attack some big interest in the country, anything can happen. But it's not how democracy should work, because you can have your own idea. I have my own idea. So you should not kill me for that, because President Jovenel Moïse was a staunch Democrat himself.
The assassination of Haitian President Juvenal Moïse has brought a wave of reactions from different countries and international organizations. President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, stressed a message of his Twitter account. From Venezuela, we express our strongest condemnation of the assassination of President Juvenal Moïse, a regrettable event. Our condolence to his family and the noble brotherly Haitian people. We pray for peace and stability in Haiti. The Foreign Minister of Norway, Ein Eriksen, also expressed, I strongly condemn the assassination of Haiti's President Juvenal Moïse. The perpetrators of this crime must be brought to justice. I extend my deepest condolence to the people and government of Haiti and the family of the late president. UN Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet condemns shocking killings of Haiti's President Juvenal Moïse and calls for the perpetrators to be brought to justice in accordance with human rights laws and standards. We express our solidarity with the Haitian people and stand ready to support Said on social media. Meanwhile, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, strongly condemned the assassination. I am saddened to learn of the violent deaths of my colleague and friend, the President of Haiti, Juvenal Moïse. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines condemns these abhorrent acts and reiterates that we, in CARICOM, do not use violence and trickery which undermine democracy and the rule of law. The President-elect of Peru, Pedro Castillo, took Twitter to express solidarity. I deeply regret the assassination of the President of the Republic of Haiti, Juvenal Moïse. We repudiate all acts of violence against democracy and the rule of law. My condolence and solidarity with his family and the Haitian people. At the Alba TCP meeting, the Secretary General of the bloc, Sasha Llorenti, read the statement issued by the alliance regarding the deaths of the Haitian President Juvenal Moïse.
The honorable representative of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis was talking about the assassination of the President of Haiti. Our alliance has issued a communiqué that, given the fact that we are gathered here, I will briefly read it. The member countries of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, People's Trade Treaty, repudiate the assassination of the President of the Republic of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse. The member countries of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, People's Trade Treaty, repudiate the assassination of the President of the Republic of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse. The alliance calls for peace and extends to his family, friends, and the Haitian people its solidarity and deepest condolences.
Leaders of the Caribbean community are set to meet this Wednesday to discuss the assassination of Haiti's President Juvenal Moïse. CARICOM Chairman Gaston Brown has said. Brown, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, said that he was shocked at the development, adding that's very, very unfortunate. Until Tuesday night, Brown was the chair of the annual summit of CARICOM leaders at which the situation of Haiti has been discussed. Reactions from Caribbean heads of states are also appearing on social media in response to the assassination of Haitian President Moïse. Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Motley, said this was an atrocious act condemned by Barbados. She stressed violence can never be a solution and urged all to pause and work for peace in Haiti. Mohamed Irfan Ali, president of Guyana, stated that political assassination has no place in the contemporary Caribbean and that such murderous acts go against the democratic values and regional integration. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, expressed shock, offered deep condolence to the Moïse family, Haitian government and people, and noted that his country will continue to work with CARICOM colleagues and other partners to support Haiti at this time. The European Union has also reacted to the news from Haiti. Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said he was shocked by the assassination of President Juvenal Moïse and warned it could further destabilize the Caribbean nation. On Twitter, he said the crime poses a risk of instability and a spiral of violence. Other subjects. In Colombia, the Attorney General's Office of the Prosecution are being used as political instruments to target leaders and spokespeople who oppose President Iván Duque, according to the Puebla Group, a coalition of progressive regional leaders. The group denounced a wave of judiciary persecutions and called for an international approach to the human rights violations in Colombia. It added that the cause of legal actions against the target figures is their support for the anti-government national strike mobilizations and social movements who are against Duque's neoliberal reform package and the ongoing killings of the trade unions, communist representative and activists. Among the voices of the Puebla Group are former Latin American presidents such as Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva, Dilma Rousseff, José Mujica, and Evo Morales. We will be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Pleas for Julian Assange to be freed from prison and bring a step up. A man warning that the WikiLeaks founder is suffering severe psychological abuse. The United States is appealing against a United Kingdom court decision in January not to extradite him, but no date has been set for the hearing. So Assange remains in Belmarsh prison in appealing conditions. The British judge ruled that transferring Assange to the United States will put his life in danger. A group of doctors representing over 250 medical professionals from 35 countries wrote to U.S. leader Joe Biden urging him to drop charge against Assange. The number of victims found after a plane crash in the Far East Russian region of Kamchatka on Tuesday has risen to 19. None of the 28 people who traveled to the city of Falana survived, according to local media. Authorities cannot currently rule out any of the three main theories regarding the cause of the crash, but whether equipment malfunction or pilot error. Wednesday is the second out of 3 days of mourning issues by Kamchatka officials. President Vladimir Putin expressed his condolence to the victims' families who were assured by authorities that they will receive compensation. Pope Francis thanks people around the world for their kind message regarding his health following colon surgery. I am touched by the many caring messages received in these days. I thank everyone for their closeness and prayers, Francis tweeted. Among church leaders sending their get well wishes was Archbishop Héctor Miguel Vidarte, president of the Latin American Episcopal Council, who said he received the news of the pontiff's good recovery with deep joy. Several heads of states and government also expressed good wishes to the head of the Catholic Church, like the president of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel. The world has now passed the tragic milestone of 4 million record COVID-19 deaths, although the true toll is likely higher, the World Health Organization warned.
The world is at a perilous point in this pandemic. We have just passed the tragic milestone of 4 million recorded COVID-19 deaths, which likely underestimates the overall toll.
The global struggle against manipulation and censorship by global media monopolies found Wednesday a new ally, former United States President Donald Trump. Facebook, Google, and Twitter, as well as their heads Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Jack Dorsey, respectively, are the targets of Trump legal actions for having wiped out his accounts in January on grounds of spreading false information regarding the U.S. presidential elections. The nonprofit American First Policy Institute introduced the label of behalf of Trump. These elites and their fundamental American rights, the rights to speak, the rights to hear, and the rights to democratic representation, the AFP said. Also in China, we have more information. A COVID-19 outbreak pursues border with Myanmar pushed new cases of the country's highest level in 6 months. 3 were 57 cases new were reported, the highest daily tally since late January.
On our responsibility, spare no efforts to prevent the spread and export of the disease, and control the epidemic within the smallest range at the fastest speed, with the toughest measures and by the strictest.
We have more news coming up after this very final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Tehran, the government of Iran hosted talks between the Afghan authorities and the Taliban on Wednesday. After 20 years of Western invasions to the country, the Taliban Islamic movement emerged as the dominant military, political, and economic force, and it's active in seeing the opportunity left by the United States departure. The government in Kabul seems unable to sustain the war, and its soldiers are fleeing to neighboring countries. While talks were being held in Tehran, the Taliban launches a major assault on a provincial capital in Afghanistan on Wednesday. The National Directorate of Security reported that during the assault, the Taliban entered the city's police headquarters and the local office of the country's spies agency, the defense minister said. This attack is the first since the United States and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization began their pull-out. In South Sudan, millions face emergency levels of hunger. Of them, more than 100,000 are literally at risk of famine this lean season.
I mean, certainly this year, we've been incredibly concerned at the levels of food insecurity in the country. Almost 7.24 million people in severe acute food insecurity, of whom 2.4 million in emergency levels, and 108,000 people across 6 counties who are literally at risk of famine this lean season. So you can say that certainly we are very concerned of food insecurity.
Dozens of angry protesters clashed with police in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi as they demand the end of lockdowns and curfews to put in place to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Demonstrators also call for an end to what they say has been police brutality in the country, especially towards younger people. Police respond to the demonstrations by shooting live bullets into the air and throwing tear gas. Kenyan authorities have currently imposed a nationwide curfew from 22 until 4 local time as part of restrictions to combat COVID-19. Zimbabwe has returned to strict lockdown measures in a bid to combat the resurgence of COVID-19 amid vaccines shortage. Trying to contain the spread, most people must stay at home, similar to restrictions adopted in March last year, when towns and cities became almost deserted. Infections have soared in recent weeks despite a night curfew. Zimbabwe is one of more than 14 African countries where the Delta variant is quickly spreading. We have come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Janet Perez Moya. Thank you for watching.